Hi, I'm Greg Gutfeld, along with Kennedy, Harold Ford Jr., Jesse Waters, and Martha McCallum, the Five. Fresh off his wedding trip to Uganda, Zohran Mamdani is back in NYC and trying to clean up his anti-police record in the wake of the horrific Midtown massacre that left 4, including an NYPD officer, dead.
I am not defunding the police. I am not running to defund the police. Andrew Cuomo is far more comfortable living his life in the past and then attacking tweets of 2020. Tweets that are clearly out of step with the vision that I have, with the statements that I have put forward. It is, in fact, to allow those officers to respond to these serious crimes that many of them signed up to address, and to do so by ensuring that we ask them to focus on those crimes and we ask mental health professionals to respond to calls of mental health crises.
Today, Mamdani joined a sea of blue, paying their respects to fallen officer General Islam during a funeral in the Bronx. But Zohran's convenient pivot can't erase his previous disdain for the police.
When we talk about defund the NYPD, the entirety of the push is defund the NYPD and refund all of these different social services and things that actually create safety.
The Democratic nominee for New York City mayor has joined Governor Hochul in calling for a nationwide ban on assault rifles, despite having armed security officers guard at his wedding.
As mayor, I will lead calls to ensure that we pass the legislation necessary beyond New York, such that every New Yorker can rest assured that we need not prepare for the next iteration of this horrific mass shooting.
So he's not even mayor of New York. He's already making laws for the country. Harold, it's good to have you back at the table.
Glad to be back.
So I think for New Yorkers, they have to ask themselves, who are they electing? You know, the hard left is expecting the pre-candidate communist, and the typical liberal will tell themselves wishfully, no, he's evolved. Can you evolve in the last 4 years since 2021?
I think you can. First, it's good to be back with you. I think you can, but where he falls short, in my estimation, is that when asked those basic pointed questions about wanting to disband and disarm that elite unit, which went into the Rudin building where Blackstone and some of the others in NFL are located, he didn't say, look, I spoke too hastily. I spoke in a moment of pure rage and upset about what had happened during the year, during 2020. But we can't disband this unit. It's not just about defunding the police. That unit showed up, and their job is to show up when, unfortunately, you face these kind of crises. And when you live in a city as dynamic, as important, as powerful as New York, we're targets for a lot of things. We're targets for capitalism, we're targets for growth, and we're targets for people who have serious mental problems or who may just be outright criminals or just both. So if I was running against him, you're Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams, you just simply, not emotionally, but make the case. This is not the young man you want running the city of New York City. This is a young man who has probably some interesting, thoughtful ideas about how to lower price. I don't question his compassion and care for the city, but I do question his ability to manage the city. In the last 72 hours, what happened in New York is something that affected the country and affected us here more. And I think every New Yorker has to step back and say, is this the young man we want running our city during times of good and certainly during times of crisis? And my answer today is no.
Well put. You know, Martha, I still think about his tweet, "Nature is healing," which was directed at the police who were crying in their cars because of all the attacks on the police. And he said, "Nature is healing." But that was just 5 years ago. Come on.
You know, he's only 33 years old. You don't have that deep of a past at the age of 33 to say, well, that was me way back then. This is not ancient history for this individual. And I think that Harold's point is really well taken. You have to ask yourself, in the city of New York, the biggest, I would say, most important city in the country in many ways, given what happens here, who do you want standing on that line? Who do you want standing next to those police officers who are at attention as they watch the body of one of their own walk by? Is it this young man who said, We don't need an investigation to know that the NYPD is a racist, anti-queer, major threat to public safety. Not just I don't like them. He thinks they're the violent problem of the country. And then he said clearly, what we need is to defund the NYPD. And you know what will happen, as I've heard from a number of people in the NYPD, they love this city, but they will not work under him. They will leave. They will resign. They're already resigning. A lot of them have hit their 20-year period, and they're leaving anyway. A lot more of them are likely to resign if indeed he is in office. And I just find it so disingenuous. Two things. When he said, oh, I just said that stuff because it was George Floyd. Okay, so which one are you?
Yeah.
So what's going to happen a year from now that's going to make you say the same kind of stuff because you're just floating around with the wind and you haven't the wisdom to figure out who you are? And that's a problem. That's fine. Take your time, figure it out. But you have to have the wisdom of a little bit of experience to figure out who you are. But he says, well, I'm really famous now. I'm well known. I'm in a position where I need to have armed men outside my wedding. So unfortunately, that's just the way life is for me now.
Yeah. Kennedy, I think what depresses me is that when you look at the states of every blue city, LA, Minneapolis, Chicago, Portland, Seattle, they're all one-party sanctuaries for lefties. It's going to happen. Like, why can't other cities look at these cities and go, we can't do that. We can't do that. But they're going to do it because this guy is bad, if not worse, than Chicago's mayor.
I mean, we've had a bad mayor. One mayor ago, Bill de Blasio, and everyone thought that, this is as bad as it gets. Mm-hmm. And, I've said this a few times, compared to what Mamdani will be, not what he could be, because this is not theoretical. He has telegraphed exactly what he wants to do with the city. And if his policies take hold, he will run it into the ground. He will make de Blasio look like Rudy Giuliani. Mm-hmm. And, this is the bad kind of transformational because, we always talk about the pendulum swinging and the transformational candidates who come in. But he makes this place so dangerous. To Martha's point, you can't have cops who know that their mayor doesn't just distrust them. And that was the case with de Blasio. He has active disdain for them. And he is running against his own record, just like Kamala Harris did. We're going to talk about her in a little bit. And he doesn't have that much of a record to run on. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it's not just a few things he said. He betrayed his political philosophy, which is, he said that we have to defund the police because without queer liberation, you can't have a police department. It's like, what does that even mean? And he's up against, this is a very emotional time for families who have lost NYPD members because the NYPD Brotherhood, they will never forget what he has said. Mm-hmm. And the sisters, the mothers, and the widows of the slain officers, they will never forgive what he has said and his actions.
Yeah, and Jesse, he still wants to replace police with social workers when dealing with violent protests, which is basically saying continue protesting. There is no disincentive to being violent.
Yeah, and social workers, they work for the state, so they're not very well paid. So it's like the worst type of therapy you could possibly get. It's not like the type you see, Greg. I have to disagree with Harold. Harold says you really can change your mind on stuff. I changed my mind on iced coffee. I used to think it was water, and then I had it like a cold brew on a hot summer day, and now I like iced coffee. Defunding the police is a lot different than that. That is fundamental. He's changing his mind on fundamental, critical things that are the pillars of civilization. We have a clip of him saying prisons are obsolete. He wants to abolish prisons. We have a tweet of him saying that we should get rid of all guns. So he wants to destroy the Second Amendment, the border, capitalism, prisons, and the police. These aren't new ideas. These aren't creative ideas. These are the same dumb Marxist ideas that we've been hearing for decades. And it's just destruction. And at a certain point, you have to think, democracy is not a suicide pact, right? We're just not going to allow a faction of radicals in a great city like this to come in, elect a guy, and have it destroyed. What kind of democracy is that? It's not tolerable to do that. This guy is now running like Kamala Harris with a beard. All the crazy stuff he said, he's like, and you know what? Never mind. You can't allow that. We won the Cold War, but then Marxism survived, and these teachers at universities got bolder. They kept teaching it. So you have unchecked immigration, and you have unchecked indoctrination, and you spit them all out into Manhattan, and they vote for a communist who wants to destroy the city, and we're supposed to sit back and let it happen? I don't think that's a very good idea. I think we have to bring back Joe McCarthy. And you're that guy. I am nominating you as the new Joe McCarthy, Greg.
Let me just.
Why me? I'm more like Charlie
Let
McCarthy.
me just make clear. I'm not supporting the young man, number one. Number two, I think people can change as long as your change is not based on ambition, but is based on authenticity. President Trump was pro-choice when I met him. He's now pro-life. J.D. Vance called him a terrible name. J.D. Vance said, I learned that he was not that person. He came around. I believe that people can change. But what I was not convinced by was what Mamdani said the other day. And that's where you and I agree. But don't put me in the camp.
Do you like iced coffee, Harold?
Never have. I've tried it. I don't know how you switch your mind on that, but we'll talk about that in the break.
Okay.
Interesting. All right. Coming up, after calling off a run for California governor, Harris rolls out her next hustle.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.